All right, duck, that's what we're doing today, whether you like it or not. We're gonna sear it, it's gonna look beautiful. I know it's sometimes one of those love or hate ingredients, but just please give it a try. It's one of my favorites, it looks beautiful. We're making a seared duck. It pairs beautifully with any kind of like red wine sauce, but me being dramatic and a little bit extra, I had to step it up. So I'm doing a red wine with a cherry reduction in there. So it's gonna be amazing. I cannot wait to get into this. So let's do it. Okay, we are back. Quick little slap on the duck to get her ready. Shaping it up, shaking it up. Let me tell you, I am so excited to share this recipe with you because I know duck can sometimes be a little scary to work with. You know, it's duck, we're not used to it, but I promise you, it is so good. This is like a restaurant quality meal I'm showing you right now. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone, I'll get in trouble. But please try it at home. I promise you'll enjoy it. What I'm doing here is called scoring the duck. So a duck breast has a pretty thick layer of fat and skin on top of the duck breast, and it's really hard to render all of that fat out properly if you don't put some slices in the actual skin in the fat to allow the heat to kind of get up all the way to the top. Otherwise, it's just gonna be hard to get all that skin like nice and crispy like you see in all the videos and in restaurants. So you can really score it anyway. It's kind of the same thing as like when you decorate a pie top. Like it's really totally up to you. You can just do this the one slice the one way like I was doing. I like to make it a little bit prettier and just a little bit more dramatic. So I'm just going in both directions to create almost like a very small, like very trypophobic cube type thing on top of the duck breast. So then when you go to sear it, you're gonna have these beautiful, like tons of little squares of crispy duck skin. That's just gonna look great and taste great too, because then you can really ensure that each little bit is super crispy. So once you have it scored, very important, you want to go ahead and salt it pretty vigorously, because what that salt's going to do is help draw out some of that residual moisture to prevent the breast from steaming when you put it into the pan. So go ahead and salt it pretty nicely. Again, some pepper as always, because you just want to always season your base, girls and boys. Always season it. It's very important. To just start with a good product, because it's going to be hard to season it once we're done, because it's going to be cooking skin side down for quite some time. Okay, so this part here also important. As you can see, I'm putting my duck breast into a cold skillet, cold skillet, not preheated, nothing like that, and there's nothing in the bottom of the skillet either. Very important that you start cold and you gradually bring the temperature up, because that's going to allow the fat to render very evenly and consistently, as opposed to burning the top layer and the bottom of it not getting rendered out. So once you have that in, skin side down obviously, and then go ahead and season the meat side of the duck breast with a little bit more salt and pepper. So once you have everything seasoned and ready to go ahead and pop your pan onto medium heat. Allow all of that to come up to temperature. You'll start to hear some sizzling. If you hear that it's starting to get really loud and kind of out of control, definitely turn the heat down, take the pan off the heat for a little bit just to let things relax, because like I said, you do not want that fat to burn. You want it to just render out really nice and crisp. Basically the same like how like a perfect piece of bacon is cooked. Like there's no burnt edges, there's no still like gelatinous fat. It's just all one beautiful crispy slice of bacon. One other tip, while you have it here, you're obviously not gonna flip it until that skin is totally crispy. So do not flip this until you know that it's ready. But feel free to move it around, you know, spin it a few times like you see I'm doing, just to get all equal opportunity down there for the skin. So after you have it in the pan for quite a while, you'll see look how much fat. Look at all that fat. Look at that. Looks like what all here's a little joke for you. All the fat that duck just gave off, I picked up through the pandemic, and that's disgusting. But as you can see, after a few minutes, maybe 10-15 minutes, all of that fat from the duck skin will come out, and then as it cooks the rest of the duck skin, that's what crisps it up. Wow, it's a hard word. Crisps it up really nicely. So now for our sauce, my favorite part of this, because these two just go together so beautifully. We're gonna do a red wine and cherry reduction sauce. And let me tell you, it's so good. It is so good. So I'm just taking my cherries. I am cutting off most of the flesh as much as I can get. If you have a cherry pitter, that works well here too. I just didn't have one. You just want to get as much of the, like I said, the flesh off as possible. And then I'm just going to go through and give them a quick chop and then get them into the pan and get them cooking down. You don't need them to be super small or anything here because they are going to cook down and kind of macerate on their own. So don't worry about any major consistent cuts here. So once you have them cut, again, into a cold pan to start. I don't know why I am trying to slice my hand with the blade side of a knife. Please don't do that. And we're gonna get those into a pan and get them over low heat and get them cooking. Did you just see that little pop of grease come at the camera? I swear I wasn't trying to kill Mace, I promise. Look at that gorgeous duck breast. You see how all that skin rendered beautifully and you have all those little dots of just gorgeous little duck fat? That's what I'm talking about. That's what you want. That's what you get when you score the duck properly. Okay, so starting to cook the cherries down. As you can see, I took some of that beautiful duck fat and put a little bit of that into my cherries, and I'm going to use that as the base and basically like the lubricant to get these cherries cooked down and ready to go. They will cook down pretty quickly. As you can see, it's only been like maybe 90 seconds and they're already starting to macerate. So at that point, you want to add in a little bit of powdered sugar, which is going to help counteract like the tartness of the cherries and the fattiness of the duck fat that we put in. Don't be afraid, you're really not going to taste the sugar in this once it's done cooking. It's really just there to help balance the sauce and really make sure that you have, you know, the right amount of each flavor going on in there. Of course, at this point, season with a little bit of salt and pepper, as always. So in here, I'm going to make my red wine slurry that I'm going to put right into my cherry sauce. And so why I'm doing this here instead of in the pan is to make sure I don't have any clumps of cornstarch in my sauce at the end of the day, because those are very hard to get out once they're in there. So I like to really make sure I combine everything in a bowl prior and then just put a really nice emulsified liquid into the sauce as opposed to trying to do it in steps. So I started with the little cornstarch. Put in just enough red wine to get the cornstarch all liquefied, and then all I'm going to do is put this right into my sauce with a little bit more red wine, and call it a day. Let that cook for a little bit, let it thicken up, and we have our sauce, baby. So like I said, in goes the cornstarch mix, and you want to put that all in. And as you can see, it's just so much easier when you make it a liquid prior to putting it in the pot, because that way you don't have to worry about like that crazy vigorous whisking to make sure all the cornstarch is broken up. So as soon as you put that in, you'll see the color will change a bit, and that's totally okay. That's what's supposed to happen. And then it will start to thicken up and re-darken back in color. At this point, I like to throw in some fresh herbs just to help, what's the word? Aromatize? No, that's not a fucking word. Add aromatics to your sauce. Makes it taste better. I know it won't be for too long, but it just really adds that other layer of flavor that you need in this. So I just use a little bit of fresh oregano. You can really use whatever herb you like, whatever tickles your fancy. Sage would work great here. Rosemary would work great. Thyme works great. I probably wouldn't use basil just because it's so delicate. But hey, if you only have basil at home and you want to use basil, then it looks like you're going to use basil. So once I have all of my other ingredients in there, I just want to finish it with a little bit of red wine vinegar, just to kind of make sure that I have enough bite in there. So the red wine vinegar and the sugar almost act as like counterbalances to each other, just to make sure, like I said before, that everything is just really nicely balanced in the sauce. Letting this simmer away, bubble away, thicken up really nicely. You can see it's already looking beautiful. It re-darkened back in color. As far as like the consistency goes of this, the thickness, you definitely want it to be pretty viscous. So just be careful about how long you cook it. And if you see that it does get a little bit too thick, just add a little bit more red wine in there. Look at that gorgeous duck breast. Are you serious? That's gorgeous. So after I took it out of the pan, I just popped it on a sheet pan and got it into a 400-degree oven to finish cooking. And you want to cook it to right around like I like to cook it to 145, 150, and then you let it rest and it carryover cooks the rest of the way to right where it's supposed to be. So as you can see, and I'm very excited about it, it's cooked quite beautifully. You know, some restaurants will cook it a little bit less, and that's totally okay. It's just a preference on temperature, just like your steak. So just let them know, like if you generally like your steak medium well, then say that same thing for the duck. If you're more okay with a more pink center, a more red center on your meat, then you'll be okay with a more pink and red center on your duck. So I encourage you to try it however you normally like your beef. Another thing, notice as I'm slicing it, you don't want to slice duck too thin. I like to slice it about the same thickness that I would a steak. I mean, in general, treat this like you would like a really nice cut of steak, because it has, you know, a lot of body to it. So you don't want to like shred it at all. So for plating, I am trying to get creative here, and honestly, I think I popped off a little bit. So I'm just starting on the bottom of my plate with a little bit of that cherry and red wine reduction. And then I'm gonna go right in and just lay my duck right on top. And let me tell you, it looks so cute. Quick little tip, you can see I pulled that duck off a paper towel. A lot of chefs do that, and I like to do that just to kind of blot the underside of the duck before I put it onto the plate or onto a sauce, just to try and keep that like natural juice runoff to as little as possible so the plate looks as good for as long as possible. Of course, once you have it all plated, top it with a little bit more salt, a little bit more pepper, and you're all set. Look at that gorgeous piece of meat. I mean, damn, I'm getting hungry just looking at it. All right, so we did it. Look at this. This is pretty. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. This is pretty. I did it. I did that. That is what I did. So I hope you guys try it, and I hope you make it. I know duck can be a big mountain to climb if you're not a big fan of like the gaminess and the price and all of those things combined. But if you're feeling fancy one night, try it. I promise you, it's delicious. And let me tell you, I wasn't a huge fan of this sauce on its own, but paired with the duck, it's a little mind-blowing. It's a little crazy. It's a little crazy. This with a really nice glass of red wine, that's a nightcap for me right there. So let me know if you make it. I would love to see your rendition of it. You can do so many different things with the sauce because it's on the thicker side, so you can do all kind of fun designs. But yeah, I'm excited to see what y'all do. So as always, thank you for watching. It's always such a pleasure to see everybody enjoying the videos and commenting and all that good stuff. So keep it up. Like, comment, subscribe, and smile, motherfucker. Goodbye.